Supra Chat with Jen. I am Janelle Thongs, your Miss Supranational Trinidad and Tobago. And here with me are the semi-finalists for Supra Chat with Jen. We have Mr. Diego Martin, Wynter Mason, Mr. Curepe, Stephen Bassano, Miss St. Augustine, Meagan, Mohammed, and of course, Miss Princess Down, Christin Coeppicus. Guys, I am so proud of all of you and congratulations into making it this far. Now you, our listening and viewing public, you guys know because I knew you watched all the Super Chats before, and if it is you didn't, go back to see why these guys are here with me today. But you know that the winner of this, one Miss and one Mr. If you so happen to go all the way through, on coronation night, you end up in top 3, which is super major. And you know how to vote for your favorite contestant. You log onto our website. That's www.crownsandSashesTT.com through our partners of Choice City app and vote for your favorite contestant. Now, I know they're all going to be amazing. So if you have to vote for more than one, please feel free because I will be voting for everyone. All right, guys. So this is just going to be a conversation on everything, really. We want the public to get a better sense of who you are. And I'm really excited. So I hope you guys are as well. If I had to think about my journey here, if you told me 2 years ago, I was from November 2020 and we're now in March 2022. So it's been a long time. If you told me that this would have been my reality, I would not take you serious at all. So this is really just a call to dream big. And if you want something, work hard for it. Understand the fluidity in your goals because it may not be exactly what you think it is. But I'm sure in some way, shape, or form, you will be able to do that. I am beaming right now just thinking about this and this moment, what it really means, not only to me, but before individuals here with me. And I know the entire Crowns and Sashes family. It's just been a great, great experience all around. When I was crowned, my mantra, if you will, was to inspire and to be inspired. Because I believe to be an inspiration to someone else, I must be open-hearted and have an open mind to welcome that inspiration on my end. So I want to invite Christin. Could you tell me what's your goals? What are your purpose? What do you think is your purpose really in this competition? And why you're here with us today?
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am so grateful for the opportunity that has been granted to me to just sit here and have this conversation with all of you this afternoon. To be honest, when I entered this pageant, I did not know what to expect. It's my first time in something like this. But so far, it's been such a great experience of self-growth, discovery, and meeting some really powerful and amazing people. And I think that my purpose here is really to show the world that beauty is not just on the inside. It requires you to be all-rounded and to also be inspired and to be motivated. I always thought of myself as a very academic person growing up. I never really cared how I look and stuff like that. So this is stepping out of my comfort zone and kind of discovering a different aspect of myself and trying to see how far I can take it. And I've been discovering that if I really put my heart into something and I focus on it, the possibilities are limitless. Everything has opened so many doors to me and I'm still growing and discovering. My purpose here is really to be the best version of myself. And as you would have seen from my previous interviews, I consider myself to be very patriotic. I love my country. I love what we have to offer, and I want to share that. And I think that my other contestants, my other delegates, they share very similar sentiments. Thank you.
I love that. I love that you're your outlook on this is that it's limitless. And for one, I know I can say on behalf of everyone represented here that Crowns and Sashes truly believes in the individual and your personal growth and development. And even though we all look stunning this evening, it's really not about that. And they take the time to get to know you as an individual. Wynter, could you share with the public our very first meeting, yourself with the rest of the delegates and Crowns and Sashes when we all met in Diggle Martin in your hometown? Tell us, what was that first meeting like for you?
Quite interesting. You know, I think for me, what I've noticed from looking back on or reminiscing on my first interview with you guys is self-development is so fundamental for one's growth. I believe when you invest a lot of time and energy into that, it trickles into every other avenue of your life, and that will definitely make improvements. And Crowns and Sashes has truly helped me to become a good individual. And I think the future is tremendously bright for me.
I know Meagan can definitely agree with what Wynter is saying. So Meg, could you tell us, how has your growth been from then to now?
Yes, thanks, Jen. We will sound like a broken record, saying it over and over again, because Crowns and Sashes really has changed the game for us locally. And I will admit that I had no idea what to expect. I knew it was good. I knew I was hearing good things about Crowns and Sashes and this brand. And getting into it, we understood why people were saying those things. We realized that this is important for us to understand who we are, to be so secure in ourselves and what we believe in and what we believe to be true. We have to be a whole person, and Crowns and Sashes cares about that. They care about developing you as an all-rounded individual. You need to be physically, mentally, emotionally healthy to be able to serve and to be able to do good for your country and for the world, really. So yes, I mean, I know I will give Wynter his opportunity to share about that first session in Diggle Martin, because I also loved that. But yes, I would want to hear what Wynter had to say about that session.
Thank you so much, Meagan. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the viewing public. My first session is truly one that I can't explain, but I will try my very best to. Crowns and Sashes has definitely helped a young man from Diggle Martin, more specifically Blue Basin, to show that there is so much more than what meets the eye. I always try my very best to project and focus on the physical aspect of myself. But what I've learned is that in order to be a great individual, you have to work on your mental. And Crowns and Sashes has definitely done that. And I will tell anyone, pageantry is more than what meets the eyes. It's about one finding themselves. And I know even Stephen would agree with me on that, because there is this stigma with men in pageantry, but it's really more to it.
Hi everyone, viewing audience. I have to agree with Wynter and Meagan, and as well, I think my experience so far with the pageant has been life-changing. I feel like I've almost entered a second family. And for me personally, wow. I feel like my personal growth really stems from being vulnerable. If it's one thing that I really learned so far, I think it's about being vulnerable. And I think that is something that, unfortunately, us young men struggle with. Society puts us on a pedestal, and I think it's important, even now entering a pageant, I've realized that it's important to step aside and knock that pedestal from under our feet and really take up space and have a voice and go against the grain and what society expects of us. And I think that is definitely important, and that speaks to being vulnerable, because I think when you step out of your ego and step out of feeling like you're entitled to live your life how society wants us to, I think it's really important that vulnerability helps us to be humble and approach life in a way that we want to make a difference, we want to be different, and we want to share our stories with people.
Oh gosh.
Thank you, Jen.
And I could, well, obviously I echo everyone's sentiments, but just talking back to the last things that you said about being vulnerable, and in that vulnerability, we are giving of ourselves to give back. And that is a very tricky thing too, because how do you give back when you're vulnerable, when you are pitching yourself literally almost on blast for the entire public, both locally and internationally, to, you know, view and judge you and pick you apart? Because guys, I can say firsthand, this is not easy at all to put yourself to the very front. But there's a reason. There's a reason why I did this, and I know there's a reason why these guys did it. And one of the main things, definitely, and I know for me, I have to say was one of the biggest reasons why I stayed. I had no intentions of leaving, but why I stayed in the competition locally. And that's because while we were competing, Miss Supranational decided to introduce from the ground up. And I was so stoked. And I know people are tired of hearing beauty queens and beauty kings talk about, oh, giving back and world peace. But guys, I truly believe in this. And I said this in my Supra Chat in Poland, and I'm going to say it here. If we all had that one thing that we're passionate about, that one thing that we can just give back, the world will 100%, you know, be a different place. For me personally, I struggled really when what I wanted my From the Ground Up project to be about, because the ethos of this really, if you really boil it all the way down and you just leave what it is truly about planting seeds. We can't change the world in one day. It's impossible to do that. But we're trying, and we're trying to make each day a better day, because as citizens of this world, yes, we are all Trinbagonians here, but as you can see, we all look different and we all come from somewhere, but at the end of the day, we all bleed the same red blood. So we want to give back in a way that's tangible. And I struggled trying to figure out what I wanted my From the Ground Up to be. And I had to sit and think with it and realize that what the roots may not do, may the branches do. So I just wanted to plant that seed of something that I know over time, even when I'm not here, that I would have left a legacy of something much bigger than myself. And that is why Bridge the Gap came about, because I wanted to bridge gaps, and I wanted to make sure that from point A to point B, the middle is people and it's us. Meagan, I know we had a really long conversation about your From the Ground Up project and going back and forth to really figure out what's at the core of, you know, what's calling you to do this. What aspect of your personality you think is the linkage between you and your project? Why do you think that this is the thing that I wanted to be known for?
Yes, Jen, we did have quite a deep dive into my CSI called Education, by the way, if you didn't know. So I believe that link at the core of it is compassion. And from love and compassion, they kind of, you know, they go hand in hand. And when you have that, you can't see injustice and not feel to do something. You can't see somebody hurting or someone in need and pass them by. It's not in my nature. And so, and I really believe that is God-given, because I can't claim that for myself. I know that God has put that in me, and I feel it my duty to do good for others. So really the project is trying to help those who have been left behind because of lack of access to devices or internet or resources with the COVID-19 pandemic, where our kids were forced to go online with no warning. So really kind of gathering a network of people to help them, and a network of people that really need the help, and providing what's necessary. And it really has it has the capacity to be quite big, because of course there are many issues involved there, but you know, it starts small, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
So I just want to touch on something that Meg said for sure, that it's a network, and no one person can do this. There's no I in team. And it's actually very reminiscent to Wynter's From the Ground Up project, because he's doing some fantastic things. Being a big brother, I'm gonna give him some time to, you know, share with us a bit more. But he is the ultimate big brother, and as a little sister, I am the youngest of 3, and I ride hard for my siblings, so hard for my siblings. It's really a beautiful thing to see a brother take up that mantle and spread his arms so wide, because now he has tons of little siblings all over the place. Wynter, how do you feel being a big brother?
For me, being a big brother is such a big role. You have 3 siblings looking up to you for many different reasons. And my From the Ground Up project is really based off of selflessness. My first unknowing interaction with I would like to call him a servant leader, was my stepfather. Coming into his home at the age of 15 and seeing someone love me so unconditionally, knowing that I'm not his son, really instilled a lot into me, and I really wanted to do so much for my community. And I saw that opportunity when I was presented with my community service initiative, and I instantly extended that love to the people of Digger Martin. And I plan on continuing, because we've only scratched the surface and there's still so much more work left to be done.
You see that scratch the surface? This is what I'm saying. If we all have that one thing that we're passionate about, and the thing is, your one niche can be similar to someone else, but you know, it takes a community and it takes a village to really do outstanding work. So when just talking about community, and Stephen knows about community when he's talking about his art, about fashion, about showing all that Trinidad and Tobago really has to give back in multiple art forms. He's the guy. He's definitely the guy when it comes to the art. Stephen, please just share with us what was your calling outside the fact that he's an amazing designer, and he will be designing some things to me later on in life. But we're not talking about that. Stephen, could you just share with us why are you so called to the arts, and you know why you decided for this to be your From the Ground Up project?
Hi, John. So to answer your question on the arts, I grew up in a very large family, mostly women. I have 8 aunts, like 30-something cousins, and I would say majority of those cousins are girls. So I was always surrounded around fashion, creativity. And for me personally, I feel like there's beauty in everything. And unfortunately, not everyone sees it. And this is really the essence for my CSI, because to echo what Wynter said, it's really about being selfless. And, you know, coming from such a large family with women, I mean, you all are powerful beings, and I was taught empathy and just to love and to be able to give back. And that's what I want to do really with my CSI. I just feel like there's so much we can do, and especially for vulnerable groups in Trinidad and Tobago. Like, how could we succeed as a community, as a society, as a world, if there's so many people being held back? And this is where my CSI comes in, show us human rights. So it's really fusing or marrying my love for creative arts, visual arts, and my passion and enthusiasm for human rights advocacy. So I am actually focusing on minority groups in Trinidad and Tobago. To be more specific, more in times that we're in right now, sorry, I'm focusing on the migrants and children. For me, children are the number one vulnerable groups in any society. I really want to place emphasis on children with special needs. So disabilities like blindness, people who may have learning disabilities like autism. My sister actually is a high school teacher and she's a special needs teacher. So this really inspired the move in that direction. And I want to really bring creativity and visual arts to that discourse and the human rights discourse in Trinidad and Tobago and showcase the power of art because art can be so powerful, Jen. I mean, it creates visual interest and it opens up so many emotions. And I feel like the discussion and the drive behind human rights advocacy can do the same. So that's where that marriage really came in to just make a difference through art and sensitize my community on these vulnerable groups because I don't think that, anyone should be left out. I remember reading somewhere a time that Mother Teresa mentioned that we are all born equal and, human rights is a privilege at birth. So I don't think that anyone should be left on the wayside. And I really want to speak to my initiative and my CSI to just paint a colorful picture of human rights advocacy and hopefully inspire others to stand up and be a voice to the voiceless. Yeah, Jen.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, guys? These individuals are so amazing in what they want to do. And you said something that reminded me of a TikTok. Yes, guys, I scroll through TikTok and it's time to sleep, but it's okay. And it said that it's so funny that we are all humans, but we have to fight for human rights. We're not existing on a planet where it's humanoids, humans, and aliens, where I guess we have to fight. How about we? When you carry the one, it doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. We are humans fighting for human rights, right? But you mentioned the arts, and if we're talking about arts, and we're talking about that mix and fusion between arts and all things that are beautiful, Christin is your girl. And Christin's CSI is so amazing. Okay, Christin, let Christin share with you guys the amazing. I am still so very wowed by her founder project. Christin, it's okay. You can show off. You can take it over.
Okay, so I am very close to the arts, just like Stephen, but the reason why I'm close to the arts is actually a bit opposite to his. I am a child of divorce. My parents got divorced when I was really, really young. And growing up, I had a lot of emotions and I didn't know how to deal with it. I had a really hard time adjusting. And what really helped me was drawing and painting. I used to go outside. My mom could tell you this. I used to go in her garden, dig a hole, get clay, and just make little pots out of that. So that's how I grew up. That's how I played. And that's how I found myself and I managed all these emotions that I was feeling. And as I got older, I kept appreciating those little things in life. I love nature. I love gardening. I love drawing, painting. I did photography for landscapes, seascapes, architecture. And that just became part of who I am. And I've realized that even though I would be driving around and be like, oh my gosh, that's a really cool tree, not everybody feels the same way, I really appreciate so many different beautiful things. And the purpose of my CSI is actually to help show other people that sometimes you do need to stop and really appreciate the beauty that is around you, because we live in a world that everything is just so unpredictable and you never know when something can happen that could take away your opportunities to really enjoy these things. So I just want to show people that there's so many different things around us to enjoy. So why not make use of it while we can? Because we never know what would happen And when we grow older, it's actually those little memories that stay with us. We don't remember our 9 to 5 jobs. We remember those little trips that we go to the beach with our family, or we spend time with our parents or grandparents. Stephen was very, very close to his mom and grandma. And when they no longer were with him, that was so much strain on him. And I can see how the arts helped him, and in that way, the arts has helped me. And I think it can help so many different people. And my CSI is not just to show the arts and to show landscapes and seascapes and stuff like that. It's in the format of a documentary series, but the main purpose of it is actually to promote domestic and local economy. So an example of an episode is actually going to be creative date night options in Port of Spain. So we're going to be going art gallery hopping. We're going to be going to open mics, to Roots Yards, which is a very cultural hub in the capital city where you could see so many different aspects of Trinidad and Tobago, its cuisine, its arts, everything. So that is the purpose of my CSI. And as I said, I'm very, very close to those kind of things because that was how I figured out who I am and how I channeled my emotions into something beautiful.
So I'm getting goosebumps. So I'm not gonna show you guys. And it's because I see myself in all the faces represented here. And I think that's the most beautiful part of having initiatives that spark different conversations and bring awareness to a host of different things. I can definitely agree with Christin. Growing up, I've had some challenges myself, and creative outlets is what saves me. Dance is what saves me. Writing, such a huge fan of writing. That is what saves me. And I think it's really important that we share these different creative outlets, that we are our brothers' keepers and our sisters' keepers. And this is why this is so important, because they each mention something about giving back and being servant leader. If you're a part of CNS family, you know what it is to be a servant leader and how important it is to realize your privilege. I know Meg and I would know exactly what that is about, to be able to stop and smell the roses, like Christin would have said, to understand that even though someone may not be your blood relative, how important it is to have a support system, like Wynter would have mentioned. And to just echo what Stephen said, human rights is the basic needs of all of us. I actually just want to take this moment, and for all of us really to really take on what is happening in the world right now. And almost, not almost, this is definitely a call to action. There are a lot of social unrest taking place in the world right now, rather, that we are all aware of. We're talking about countries like Ukraine and Russia, Yemen, Syria, Israel, Palestine. We're talking about countries in Africa. And if we take it back, we're dealing with certain social unrest here at home. And this is actually your duty as a citizen of this world, to step out of yourself and to be a helping hand to someone in need. This life, as you all know, is not easy. It's great to have amazing moments, to be here, safe and sound in our homes, but we have people crossing borders over to Poland right now as we speak, and families being torn apart simply because we all have different outlooks on life. And even though we have moments where we're happy and we're smiling, just always remember that this cannot be your reality, and to really take the moment to appreciate all that you have. Truly appreciate that anything can change in a moment. If we think back to a couple of months ago, our neighbors in St. Vincent, in an instant, life became different, and we never know. Yeah, like we really never know. So this is my call to you. If you have a family member, a friend, a co-worker, a schoolmate, someone that you can help today, this is your call to do so. It never hurts to be kind, because you never know when it's going to be our last day here on this earth, and what you do with your time here is very important. The legacy that you leave behind is very important. And you may not be a superstar, everyone may not know your name, but that one person that you helped in their time of need, you will forever remain in their hearts. And I firmly believe that. I am a firm watcher of animation. So if you've ever seen Coco, the movie, that feeling of, if you haven't, please go see it. And when you do, tag me when you do. But the ethos of it and the takeaway is to remember your family and to always keep them in your heart. And you don't know that person that you have, they are going to remember you and they're going to pay it forward. Yeah. I just want to just take this moment to thank you guys so much for being so absolutely inspiring. I don't want to, it's not that time. But I'm really, really just proud of each and every one of you. And when I think to that day that I have to give up her right there, it's going to be bittersweet, because it's a moment of transformation and it's a new leaf. But I know that it may be someone here, it may be another delegate. I know that it's in good hands. That next step of next Miss and the next Mr., it's in really good hands. So I just want to thank you guys so much for just being amazing people. Yeah, you guys make me really proud, but we're not going to do that. Just, echoing on what we were just speaking about. Stephen, I know that family is super huge for you. And as I just mentioned, there are families being torn apart right now. If you had to speak to any of our world leaders on any social issue, anything that you can think of, like what would be that one thing that you would want to drive for?
Adrian, thank you for that question, and it's right up my alley. I would definitely speak for equality and human rights. I think it's important. I think it's lacking. And I think what is lacking with human rights is that some of our world leaders, they don't have the empathy or the understanding of what it is to be or belong to a vulnerable group. And I think that the people that are in charge of making our policies should have some kind of emotional and connection with vulnerable groups and people that face injustice in society. I think that's what is lacking, and we need to include these people, include them in decision making, include the vulnerables in policy making, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect them and bring about change for them. And I think when the government ministers and the people that are making decisions sit on their pedestal and they don't think out, with a grain of salt or pinch of salt, every little detail that is required for change in human rights advocacy, I think that we really see where there's fractures in society. And these fractures are just something that makes me sad, and it's unfortunate because, like I said, everyone is born equal, and we shouldn't leave it up to the government to make these decisions for us. We should be instrumental in the decision making. I think when that happens, when the world leaders out there, if you're listening to me, let's work with the people that are vulnerable, work with the people that we are making these policies for, and let's bring about effective change, you know?
I love that. No, it's that idea of being so almost far removed. How do you help a group if you don't know their struggles? So we're just talking about a level of privilege. And again, I know I'm going to invite Meg here, but that's just because we really had this conversation about like a couple of days ago about, checking your privilege and understanding that what flies to me is not going to fly for someone else because it just simply doesn't work that way. So I just want to segue what Stephen was saying to ask Meagan here. So we're talking about privilege and how some of our world leaders really are not on the same path, as the rest of us. If you had to say, do you think the youth of this generation, we are required to perform under different pressure than the youths of other generations? So you're talking about our parents and our parents' parents. Like, where do you see them compared to us?
Yes, Jen, deep question. Very, yeah, it really goes back to thinking about, yes, we're all born equal, but not all of us are born under the same circumstances, with the same resources. And while I can acknowledge that throughout generations, most of us faced similar challenges. I would say that now you do have a segregation where if you have access to certain things, you unfortunately can become better off in life. And it's not fair. It's not fair, but that's what happens. And so we have really seen that. And I will always bring this back to my CSI. And I know that is specifically what you were mentioning with privilege. Now, so back in 2020, March 2020, all of the kids were forced to go online for school. And that is whether or not you had internet, whether or not you had an electronic device to attend school, and whether or not you had people around you to help you, because individualized attention on an online platform is not easy. And so if that happened to me today, I would be fine. But for somebody else, that reality is crushing. It is a daily struggle because they're missing foundational blocks or they're completely missing school. And so, and that is, it's a big thing because it affects how you will do in your future exams, what university you could end up in or not, whether or not you have access to scholarships. And it's something that we need to really think about as people. Everybody who's tweeting and posting and whatever, you check your privilege, because you talking about other people, but they can't even see what you're posting. They can't even read that because they don't have access. And so while yes, we have a lot of people that have access, we still have too many that don't. So I implore you to seek out those people and see what you can do to help, because whether we like it or not, there is a huge gap in terms of people who have access to certain privileges and those who don't.
Yeah, I have to just jump in here because what Meagan is saying, it's so very true. And for our international audience, if you're not too sure what she's referring to when she said March 2020, that is when Trinidad officially went into COVID overload. All our borders were closed. If I'm not mistaken, it would have been March 13, 2020. So we just passed our 2-year anniversary of dealing with this pandemic full on. And just to say, that change was crazy. It was literally today for tomorrow. I actually have a co-worker who has a young son, and when it happened and he couldn't have gone to school, and she would have, brought him to work. Hi, Malachi, if you're seeing this. And I would dedicate my Fridays to sitting with him to make sure that he's doing his schoolwork, because mommy had to work. And it was a very real reality for a lot of parents to now be thrusted into one device, 3 kids. They still have to go to work, and there's a lot of that's going on at the same time. One of my biggest takeaways from this entire pandemic is for us to get back to that sense of community, because when I grew up, there is no way I could walk down my street and not tell a neighbor good morning, what? By the time I reach home, it's over. My grandmother, it's like, you didn't tell Miss X, Y, and Z good morning. What's happening? So once again, if you're not watching, oh sorry, if you're watching and you're not from Trinidad and Tobago, it's very important for us to have that sense of that village vibe, because we grow up in a way where your neighbors become your family and they're your cousins without being your cousins. So being thrusted into this whole world where you kind of had to do things on your own, mental health definitely came to the forefront, something that we left in the past. But now it's rearing its head to where you can't turn away from it anymore. Just because I know Christin is involved in the arts and how it helped her being in her mom's garden. And as I say, I can definitely echo those sentiments of just finding a quiet spot in my home and just writing stories. Christin, is there any positive takeaways you think that you have learned during this pandemic, now endemic, thank God that we're getting somewhere? Any positive takeaways for you?
So something that I really learned to appreciate during this pandemic is to value the time that I have with my loved ones. Right now, I am living with my grandparents, and in the middle of the pandemic, my grandma got sick. And at the time, I wasn't here, and she was just here with my grandpa, and there was no one around to help them out. So I came and I was here to take care of my grandparents for a couple of months, and then I ended up staying. And during that whole experience, I started to value the time that I have with them so much more. And I don't think that a lot of people are privileged to have had that option. During the last 2 years, we have lost so many people who we love and we care about, friends, family, neighbors. And before the pandemic happened, we would not have in a million years guessed that something so dire and so detrimental would happen. And now that it has happened, we really need to use that as an opportunity to really appreciate what we have. Because also, what we do not realize is that, as Meagan said, we are not all privileged with the same things. We are not all born with the same opportunities. So, for example, I can get a driver and go to visit this one, or I can go visit my cousins. Not everyone has that same privilege. People have to work, people have to do so many different things, and it's become so much harder to really afford to do a lot of different things because of the pandemic. So really appreciating those little memories and those little times you have with your loved ones, it's so much more valuable because of how unpredictable we have come to learn that the future is.
Listen, you are so very right. I think we really took for granted simply being able to visit someone. Oh my gosh, I was going crazy at a point in time. I think once again, this is privilege really, being in the medical field, and I know Meagan for sure, being in this field, we were not out of a job. I mean, it was craziest time for me actually. And when we did have those moments where we were able to be home, I took some time to myself. I sat in my garden, I would start back reading, and I'm thinking, this is not the reality for a lot of people because they are within four walls and they can't leave for whatever reason. And just having people around you. So as I said, I was crowned in 2020. So I was crowned heavily in the middle of this pandemic, and a lot of things we had to do virtually. Barely got to see my Supra sisters in the capacity that I wanted to, barely was able to see my friends. So being in a position now where we can share once again, Wynter, being with your brothers and sisters now, I'm sure does wonders not only for you but for them and their mental health on the whole. And this is for Wynter, for anyone to jump in, knowing that the Caribbean, there's a stigma with mental health. Something that I'm hoping now would change. But Wynter, if you had to think of one way in which governments within your region can do something to get the necessary help, how do you think this can be addressed?
I think one of the first steps that many government in the Caribbean needs to take is accepting that mental health is real. And as much as COVID-19 was our first pandemic, I personally believe that mental health, with many other things, has always been a pandemic. It has always been existent. So we are not living in our first pandemic. There's a lot that we need to adjust and fix. And one of the first directions I think they should take in fixing these things is definitely accepting the fact that it exists. I think many of us turn a blind eye to mental health. It is truly there, and it is affecting every person, especially with COVID-19. Being trapped indoors, even for me, was very, very tough. I didn't even understand what I was experiencing. And I had to Google. I couldn't find any help on any government sites on what I was truly experiencing. No doctor could have helped me. And I think that is a bit disheartening. We're focusing on some good things, but we're also not focusing on some very important things.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to jump in and think of ways that we could, Steve on, any ways that we can adjust we can. Yeah.
So just to echo or point out something that Wynter mentioned, I think we literally don't accept that mental health exists. I remember in university, so I did sociology and psychology as my first degree, right? And even in secondary school, I remember not getting support from teachers to go into that field. And even in university, people would often, bash or downplay the importance of having social workers, psychologists, sociologists. And I think that in our society in the Caribbean, for some reason, we are fearful of the talk of the importance of mental health and the importance of having or needing people that can assist in solving this issue of mental health. I mean, it's so sad because recently when the Miss Universe girl, unfortunately lost her life, and we found out it was mental health. I mean, that was the last thing I was expecting, and especially for such a progressive country like the US, where, they embrace people that working in this field, like psychologists and whatnot. And I think that we need, as a society in the Caribbean, to echo those sentiments and echo the importance of having people that specialize in psychology and social work. I just feel like it's needed. It's needed now more than ever, especially coming out of the pandemic. I mean, so much going on in the world.
You mentioned Chesley, Chris. I actually want to ask Christin, I know you're about to say something. So if you can just let us know whatever you're gonna say. How do you also feel as a beauty queen in this industry, and actually, seeing that Chesley, unfortunately, she decided to no longer be here with us. How do you feel competing and now, still having all of these things going on at the same time?
Yeah. So what I was about to say is that I think the culture in the Caribbean is one such that we all have these emotions and mental health has always been there. But what has helped a lot of people to cope was that personal interaction. People from all over the world knows that Trinidad is famous for liming. There was a meme, you want to go lime. Liming is to go out with friends, to have a drink, to enjoy yourself. And
Just
that's
so
how a lot of people cope.
Liming is hanging out with your friends, not an actual line, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's a lot of people's coping mechanisms to things that are going on in their lives. and not having that opportunity because of the pandemic and having to be home by themselves and with their own thoughts and not having that that vent that caused them to really realize a lot of mental issues like depression, anxiety, and I feel as if that made it worse. And the government was very much focused and involved in getting the COVID numbers down, to getting the deaths down, but not a lot of focus was placed on the people with these issues who were at home and didn't have some kind of outlet to express these emotions that were getting to them and just making everything worse. And in terms of that unfortunate situation with Miss USA, none of us knows what she would have been going through. We would have seen her as a beauty queen. We saw her on stage. We saw her in her gowns with her makeup and hair well done, but we don't know what was going on behind that front. And that is the same case with everyone, even us here. We have our face done, we look great, but we never know what is going on at home or what's going on in our heads. And I feel like really connecting with people and reaching out and just checking up, making sure you're okay. That is so very important. And I think what happened to her was just so unfortunate. I would like to think that she had a support system based on her background, because I believe that she, based on what I read, she was also very academic and she would have had a very big network. So I would have hoped that she had a support system, but that also shows that sometimes no matter how big your support system is, you never really know and you can never really predict what is happening. And it's so important to just be aware and just to be sensitive to such things. And if you see someone who is usually very energetic and they've gotten quiet all of a sudden, or behaviors have changed, or little things, you need to make sure and check up on them because you never know what's going on.
I'm seeing Meagan's face right now, and as someone who has been on the front line dealing with this from day one, I can only imagine how the past 2 years has been for you and all our healthcare workers. Really, share with us, share with us the past 2 years. What has this meant for you?
Yeah. Thank you for that question, Jen. So just to add to what everyone else was saying, in terms of what can governments do. So thankfully, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists was fantastic with the pandemic. They mobilized immediately, and there were hotline numbers that they made a nice little graphic, and that graphic was shared all throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And thankfully, because I was one of the COVID doctors and really dealing with those people as like a first, like I was telling people they were COVID positive, I was one of the county medical doctors. We would see and hear their vulnerable lives and stories, and hear them crying, and hear them talking about family members that went to the hospital and didn't come back out, and they needed somebody to talk to. And so I was so thankful for that association. And so what governments can do is really embark on a massive awareness campaign. And we're not talking about 1 month or a few months. We're talking about regular things on a weekly to monthly basis, whether it be, drives at certain health centers or the local mental health suite. Like there's like the Barataria mental awareness area, and where they actually, will deal with anyone that needs help. So all of those things, we can help people understand that they're not alone and that it is normal. So over the last 2 years, I mean, really, it was quite a roller coaster. And I would say that I wish that more people had other people to talk to. And it's more than that. It's that they probably didn't even think they could talk to their friends about it, you know, and they would think they had to deal with it like a big man, you know, as a big man, I don't need no help, you know, trying to think to themselves that I can't show this side. And Stephen touched on it very, very clearly. Vulnerability, that's not easy for people. And having emotional awareness is really important. And so us right here, we have a responsibility to encourage other people that it's important to understand your emotions and to understand that it's okay to be vulnerable, and definitely reach out if you need help, because we can't always check on everybody all the time. And I couldn't check on my patients all the time because as the numbers got higher and higher, we weren't even able to tell them, you know, so they would have to call us, and we will never be able as a small group to handle everything. But if we act as catalysts for the rest of our communities, for the rest of our country and the world, we can make a difference for sure, for sure. So rest of the world, hear me.
Listen,
Let them do something.
these guys, it's not easy, especially when you are that person who's accustomed to being the listening ear. You know, that saying, I'm checking on your strong friends. I know what that feels like. I definitely was not one to open up, not because, you know, I didn't want to be vulnerable, but really just because I didn't want to burden anyone else, you know, with my own problems and my own struggles. But I realized that I can't be a one-man island, you know. So for anyone out there who may be watching and listening to us, if you ever feel like there's no one to turn to, know that there is always somebody to turn to. There's always a listening, an ear for you, and reach out to the necessary channels in order to just share the burden. It gets heavy when you're taking things along by yourself. It gets heavy, and it's really important to have that support system. And as Christin rightfully said, if you notice someone is not their usual self, they're not in and out like they would usually be, check on that person and check in on your friends, because you never know if that one, hey, how are you going? How are you doing today? I haven't heard from you in quite some time. Is everything okay? I am, for one, I don't know if you guys can see, if you ever message me, sometimes I take forever to respond. Yeah, I'm definitely that person. I respond mentally. I respond mentally, but for anyone, if you ever really just need that listening ear, I literally, I know it may seem like crazy. You could be the other side of the room, like, what is this person even talking about? But I recognize the importance of just being there for people. And I really just want to commend you guys on your outlook of realizing that this is not easy, and that we can all do something to help somebody along the way. So once again, you guys are amazing. I want to touch on something else here. So we have all of these things going on at the same time. So we have this pandemic, we have mental health issues, you have your own life and different things that you're dealing with, really. And then you still have these social ills and environmental ills that we have to deal with. Honestly, to tell you, I started a charitable initiative about 3 or 4 years ago. This is before I even had the idea of joining Miss Supernatural. And the reason I started it is because I literally had a breakdown thinking about, oh my gosh, everything is going wrong in the world and we can't fix anything. So since we can't fix anything, it's better we just don't do anything at all, because it makes no sense and I'm arguing with myself. But self had to tell self, relax, calm down. So if you've ever heard this before, it's helping where you can, when you can, with what you have. And it does not matter who you are where you come from and what you look like. Let's each one reach one. So that's my charitable initiative that I started, Let's Each One Reach One TT. And from that, Bridge the Gap started, and it just went on. One of the things that really brought me home was climate change. So my background is in sciences. I love the environment. And I just could not understand, why are we still dealing with this thing? What is happening? What's going on? It's actually a question that I got from my Supra Chat finale. And I want to ask you guys to chime in here. So at the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference, the PM of Barbados, the amazing Mia Mohammed, I actually really do love her. So if you're ever watching this or you're from Barbados and you know her personally or anything, just see this clip and tell her that I love her so much. But she said at that conference, the planet, the world, needs our actions now. Not today, not in the next decade, not now, right now. So I want to ask you guys, what are 2 actions that you think that we can take immediately to reduce our negative impact on climate change? So the floor is open for anyone to jump in. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
I love this question because I preach this everywhere. You all know.
You do.
So now there are many small things you can do. It's hard for me to think about 2 specific ones, but in general, your waste reduction. It is amazing how much waste we produce on a daily basis. So my recommendation is to try to look at how much you throw away, or how much you normally throw away, and see how you could replace that with something that you can reuse. So I always walk around with my own water bottle, so I don't have to buy any plastic. And so also it's weird, but yes, I walk around with my own cutlery in a bag. I walk around with my own straw so that I don't have to have plastic straws.
I like that.
And in places that will allow you can bring your own containers instead of getting the plastic containers. It's still a really weird thing. People will look at you crazy, but it's all like, yeah, imagine if we all do that. Imagine if we all do that, how many less things we will throw away, and it'll end up in this landfill that will never break down, you know? Yeah. So that's one. I know that's many in one, but really at the core of it is waste reduction. Try to see what you can stop throwing away. And 2, recycling. I would say stay away from plastic completely, but if you must use plastic, please recycle it, because plastic can only really be recycled once, and we know it takes like forever to break down, and then there's microplastics that end up in our food, in our water, etc. Right? But the things that can be recycled over and over and over again are glass, aluminum, and paper. And the IKEA bin recyclers are all over Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, if you're in another country, recycling is a little bit easier in certain countries, but definitely if you must use certain things, please recycle. Yeah, those are my 2. That's a lot, but sorry.
just 2, she gave you all the whole spiel. If you're like myself, definitely the use of water bottles. I have a huge water bottle that I walk with all the time. And that's because I'm an avid drink half a bottle of water person. So when I clean my room, guys, it's almost embarrassing. It's honestly really embarrassing because I take a bottle of water every night, telling myself, you're gonna get thirsty, so you're gonna wake up and want to grab a bottle of water. But then I get too lazy because I'm sleeping. It's a whole madness. And I would just take one sip and then the bottle remains. So I just want to hear from Stephen. Tell me 2 things that the PM has asked you. PM Mia Motley from Barbados has asked you, what are 2 things that you will do to help with climate change right now? What would you say?
I feel like I've personally already taken the initiative for that change. Like the essence of my fashion brand is sustainable fashion. Yeah. So Yeah, so I always, I always promote the use of natural fabrics, cottons, linens, jute fabric. I actually made fabric at a point in time, well, yarn, from pineapple leaves. So there's so much we can do. Yeah, there's so much we can do to eliminate, using synthetic and plastic. I mean, even though we recycle it, but, I think the essence of it is really to use natural fibers, natural dyes. You could literally dye fabric with anything, with avocado seeds. I mean, that is on TikTok as well. I don't know if you saw that video. So
I love TikTok.
yeah. So for me personally, that's my directive. That's what I have contributed so far in my little way. And then there's this next thing in garment construction and in sewing, where you tend to monitor your time and that you use for like electricity. So I think energy conservation, is another important tool that we can all maybe practice. It's important. I remember growing up, your grandmom would say, take off the light if you're not using it. Don't leave the sink open. If you're brushing your teeth, you're wasting water and those kind of things. And I think those little things, we took it for granted, but now you really see the importance of, conserving your energy. And I think for me personally, those are the things that I have started to do. And I hope, people can do the same.
I just think that the fact that he's just like, oh, I've been doing this, I've been using pineapple leaves to make fabric. It's like, okay. And I'm just saying here, oh, I just drink a sip of water. But we can all recognize
it's
where,
possible.
where we can learn and grow. So he mentioned TikTok, guys. Yes, I just want to reiterate that I do really love TikTok. Just because it's just aimless scrolling, and my job sometimes is a lot on me mentally. So I just mentally scroll. But this huge thing on TikTok right now is gentle parenting. That may be very different from our era and how we grew up. So I want to have Christin's input on this gentle parenting. So let me tell you exactly what it is. And for our viewing and listening public who has no idea what gentle parenting is, listen up. So in the 21st century, parents are choosing this path of gentle parenting as their main parenting style. So this would look like having a conversation with your child in a better tone than we would have been like, put it down. Don't pick that up. Don't look at anything. I'm not buying it for you. It has different ways. And I know Caribbean parenting, a lot of people have different things to say about it. There are pros and cons, definitely, I can see. But Christin, what do you think about gentle parenting? And do you think we're going in a good direction?
I think that is a great initiative because it encourages children to actually express their personalities and their interests. Like growing up in a Caribbean household, if you respond to a parent or an elderly person when they're arguing with you, that is so disrespectful. You get licks one time. But now the conversation is encouraged, you get to express your point of view, why you chose to do what you did. And that helps so much to develop personality, to develop communication skills. Mm-hmm. It helps teach the child like why they did stuff wrong, why what they did was wrong, and try to help them really understand the situation instead of just telling them, no, don't do that. Yeah. Now they understand why and they understand cause and effect. And that is very important in so many stages in life. And it also helps them to get a better sense of responsibility. So that is my take on gentle parenting.
So Wynter, I just want to ask, because I know you mentioned earlier that your stepdad was really instrumental in who you are today, actually. So did your stepdad implement gentle parenting before it was a thing? How was that for you?
Yeah, he definitely taught me gentle parenting. And at first I was confused because my mom, she has that old-fashioned type of parenting, and
night and day.
I think it really plays a true part in helping one to develop and tap into their abilities, because if you're comfortable in the place that you call home, and that's where parenting takes place, I think you will be able to be a better individual. And I think gentle parenting is a really good initiative.
That's beautiful. I don't have kids, but I definitely do want to have in the future. Um, I think it's a really good move and a good direction to be able, as Christin said, cause and effect. Because how could you tell a child don't do that without explanation? For them not to know what's going on. All right, guys. So I know we've been chatting for quite some time. Meagan, sure.
So I just wanted to just kind of wrap it together. It really fosters a good relationship with the parent and the child as well. And when you do have that, you're more comfortable to chat with your parent and maybe even talk about things that you are thinking about before you even do the bad thing in the first place. So yeah, fostering good relationship is important between parent and child. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Meg. All right. So, we've been here, you guys are enjoying the conversation. I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation because I certainly am. I hope you have something to drink. Yeah, we all do love that. So we're just gonna round this up. And I think the best way we can do this is speaking about things that are aspirational and inspirational. So if you're not aware, this is the tagline for the Miss Supranational brand that I am obsessed with, that I absolutely love, and something that has now really taken precedence in my life on how I decide to live life and how I want to be aspirational and inspirational. So we're gonna break this up in a fun way. We're gonna have one guy, one girl. If my screen is the same as you guys, I'm gonna have Wynter and Meagan answer something inspirational, and Stephen and Christin to answer something aspirational. Yeah. So let's start with Wynter and Meagan. So we're gonna go with inspirational. What does your best self look like? And has your involvement with us here at Miss Supranational and CNS helped you to become that version of yourself? You're like, who's gonna go first?
I think Meagan should go first, ladies first.
Yes. So I believe that looks like an attitude of always wanting to be the best version of yourself and actively doing the work as well. And 100%, yes, Crowns and Sashes has encouraged us to do that and has also given us the tools to do that. You had asked Wynter about the first experience, and that first session that we had, that was our, it was called a retreat, and we thought we were going to be doing things a little bit differently, but no, it helped. It forced us to do introspection. It forced us to answer the hard questions about ourselves that maybe we didn't even realize we needed to ask. And so willing to do that work, willing to be open to doing that work and learning from others, I think is how you can do that and be inspirational, because you can then make room for others to do the same.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Meagan.
I agree with Meagan, and I just want to piggyback on what she just said. It's really about progression. I think to progress in life is truly inspirational. You would at times even inspire people who are older than you. And I definitely owe a lot of my progression thus far to Crowns and Sashes, because I came in a hot mess, but I am so proud of the young man that I am today. I really am proud of myself. And if this is where I am today in this journey, I can't imagine where I'll be a year from now. So I'm truly grateful. And I think inspiration, I've definitely attained that through Crowns and Sashes.
Oh, I feel so happy. I'm feeling if my cheeks can burst right now from smiling so much, because I definitely agree. The person that I was in 2020 to 2022, of course, wow. And if I knew then what I knew now, it has been an amazing experience, an amazing ride. Thank you so much for that, guys. All right, so Christin and Stephen, I would like to know, what is your philosophy on life and what do you value the most in life? I think Stephen is going to say, Christin, you
I
can
feel
go
like I
first.
would go first just
You would?
because,
Okay, good.
yeah, I will. So my philosophy in life, I mean, there's so many. If you're affording me the opportunity to list two, I'd appreciate that. So my first philosophy is I always say, when you give of yourself is when you truly give. And for me, that's the essence of everything I do. Um, it stems from my upbringing with my family, how I interact with people, and I just always, I'm a selfless person. I mean, I Wynter mentioned that earlier in the session, and I think that as young men, it's important to be selfless. It's important to want to inspire and aspire to be selfless, to inspire. And I feel like for me, that is one of my biggest qualities. I know I have to give myself a pat on the shoulder because I feel like, yeah, I definitely feel like I have that. I've always been told that I'm such like a kind and humble person. And I think it's okay to own that. You don't have to feel like, you're bigging up yourself, as we say in Trinidad, or speaking highly of yourself, and it's a negative thing. I think it's good to own that. And the next thing that I really appreciate is there's a saying, it's not how slow you are in the race, it's the fact that you never stop. And for me, that's a next life lesson right there. Because I remember saying that my superpower was persistence and perseverance. And for me, that line just speaks to that. No matter what is thrown my way. Like Christin mentioned, I lost my granny and my mom in 2019. And yes, it was a difficult time for myself and for my family. But I think that persistence and just having that drive to make them proud, and most importantly, to make myself proud, that really struck a chord with me, because I had put off for so many years pursuing my master's to take care of my mom and my granny, more so my mom, because she was really she got a stroke and was bedridden for almost 2 years. And being a caretaker, it wasn't an easy thing. It was always something that um I am still surprised that I did as a young man, because I feel like I I don't know any other friend or any other young man that would have done something like that for their mom, as in literally be her caretaker. So for me, when they passed, I really found this energy in the word perseverance and persistence, and I was able to, in a very short space of time, because my mom passed maybe 1 or 2 months before I began my master's. And I said I was going to do this for them. And, I recently graduated, and that's one of my biggest achievements so far to this date. And I just have to say that for me, I want to encourage everyone out there. Like I said, it's not about how slow you are in the race. It's the fact that you don't stop. So just keep excelling, keep doing your best, and never give up. Thank you, Jen.
Okay.
I totally agree with Stephen. What I also think is very important is recognizing what you're passionate about and turning that passion into purpose. It's really important to have very clear aspirations so that you would know what you are working towards. So Stephen was working towards his master's. He got it done, and that's something he can be very proud of. And each of us has our own aspirations. We have our own goals that drive us towards our purpose. Meagan is a medical doctor. Wynter has a fantastic career as well. We all have our goals, and having that, and having also that understanding that life is not just about a career, it's also about finding meaning and finding passion. I've said the word passion a lot because that's something that I think describes me, and that's something I'm trying to channel through what I'm doing in any way that I can. That's something that I think is very, very important and worth looking into yourself for. So really understanding why you are here and what you want to do with your life and how you can accomplish it and what you want to do in accomplishing it. That is really great. A lot of people would say that their purpose or what they aspire is just to be happy. And that itself is a great aspiration. Different people see happiness in different ways. For some, it's through academic pursuits. For some, it's family. And knowing what really makes you happy and what you want is one of the most fulfilling things when you actually work towards it and accomplish it.
Oh gosh, thank you so much for that, Christin. Guys, this has been one of the most fulfilling and amazing conversations that I've had with a dynamic group of individuals. And I just have to thank you for making the final Super Chat with Jen one for the books. You guys are awesome. Trinidad and Tobago, this is what the future looks like. Worlds, be prepared for these trailblazers that are here with me. And thank you so much for this. It's going to be tough. I forgot this was a competition for a hot minute. It's gonna be a tough one. So you already know what you need to do to vote for your favorite contestant. Head over to our website. That's www.crownsandSashesTT.com through Choicely, our amazing app sponsor. Thank you so much for partnering with us. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the final episode of Super Chat with Jen. Alongside with me, I have Mr. Diego Martin, Wynter, Mr. Curepe, Stephen, Miss St. Augustine, Meagan, and Miss Princess Town, Christin. It feels bittersweet, but it's okay. I'll be okay. This has been Super Chat with Jen. I am your Miss Supranational Trinidad and Tobago Janelle Brown, and I'll see you next time.